Hi, it's Steve, FairMighty Farm here. Today we will be canning up some peppers. Very simply hot packing them and putting them up for later use. A lot of people will say that canned peppers are really kind of icky and bland. No, it's not a fresh pepper. But if you're using them to put into, say, a spaghetti sauce or on a pizza or what have you, cooking otherwise, you just don't notice the difference and they have the same texture as something that you would already cook anyways, and they have still a great taste. All right, so we'll get right at it. We're going to clean these guys up. um, they have to be blanched and then chopped up and then canned, and that's it. It's a pretty simple process, and we will be using the pressure canner. Okay, so the first step, of course, was everybody got a quick rinse, and then we have to chop them up into manageable pieces for blanching. uh, the work of two makes things go quicker always, so we're at it like that. And we know that somebody somewhere, they are going to say it's better to do it like this and like that. We're cutting them into these great big strips. They're going to get blanched like that, and then we're going to put them through our chippy chopper machine to make the little diced cubes. Another reason why we actually do prefer to can them rather than bag them is because when you bag them, you have to, and freeze them. You generally should double bag them, because if you don't, that smell and the taste leaches out into everything else in proximity and further than in the freezer. So everything else tastes like peppers, and peppers are good and nice and everything, but their taste and flavor should remain with the peppers, not everywhere else. Yeah, it's really easy to do. You need one ingredient, well, two: peppers and water. You know. Anyway, so we're going to get busy. We're going to clean the rest of these guys up, and it'll be really fast. And it's a really short time in the pressure canner as well. Again, if you're looking for an excuse or a reason to get your pressure canner out, this is a good one, because again, it's not a long process. Our pressure canner is already outside warming up. I've got my water heating on the stove here, and the water that we're going to blanch these guys in, same thing. But as far as the pressure canning goes, there's no excuse not to do it. You just have to do it. All right. All right. So these guys, they're all chopped up. We are re-rinsing them again just to make sure, like all the seeds, and if there was any critters or any kind of whatever kind of exterior contaminant that could have been in there, it's all being rinsed. We were discussing while we were doing this, the chopping them up and that, preparing them. Did we chop them into little bits and pieces before we blanched them, or did we do it after we blanched them? And we discussed it and discussed it and discussed it, because it's not the first time we've done this. And so now it is being documented in the YouTubeverse. And we came to the conclusion that we actually chopped them up before we blanched them. That way we didn't have to play with them when they were hot. We blanched them, and then from the blanching pot there, we'll cool them down, how we cool them down, right into the jars instead of playing with them again. That's that. Nextly is, you may have noticed that my shirt changed from the intro of the video, and that's because I had a wardrobe malfunction. I was outside, and as we know, this time of the year here anyways, the sureau, elderberry, the elderberries are getting ready, and there are birds that are eating the elderberries. And the birds, of course, they eat the elderberries, and when they come out, they're pretty much the same color. And one got me, so I had to change my shirt. So you know. All right, so again, it's, whoops, I don't have this the right way. Yeah, I do. There. We're not playing around. We're making these things into nice little diced up, chopped up pieces, the same thing as we did the other day with zucchini, what else? The onions, It works fantastically, this thing too, that for cubing up this stuff. So again, they just have to be broken into pieces just to fit in there. That's it. We don't have to be picky. They don't have to be an exact size. This variety of peppers as well, we like it. We like the way it tastes. We like the way it looks. It's called Carmen. Okay, and as you saw, they can be quite the spectacular pepper. It's like they're ready now. We're at the beginning of September, first week of September, anyways. As I'd mentioned before, our gardening year was not the best just because of the drought conditions that we're going through. So that's that. All right. So
but we still have some in the garden.
There's still some in the garden, but they're sad. You know, the plants are growing, they flower, but then like the
maybe one or two in each plant, and they're still green. And
yeah, they're small. They didn't size up. And a lot of the times too, we noticed that the flower would just abort right off the plant. Sometimes a fruit would begin to develop, and then because of the
lack of water,
nope, the plant realized that it can't deal with it, so it got rid of the plant, the fruit. Because usually peppers, they love the heat, and usually for us here anyways, it's only towards the later half of the summer where the plants actually begin to thrive, where it's hot. They love the heat. But again, it was just the inconsistent watering that they were getting. You know, perhaps not inconsistent, but the lack of water, you know. Anyways, we're going to keep getting this done. We've got all of our jars ready. We've got water on the boil in the canner, on the stove to fill the jars, and the pot that we're using for blanching all the peppers as well. It's out there heating, and I'm pretty sure it's ready. It'll be done in about 25 seconds. All right, so we'll be back with the next step. And this is just an interruption. I guess you could say it's the comic relief of it all. This is one I couldn't resist. I'm going to get in trouble for that one. Oh,
sorry. Just find the next step.
Yep. Of course, if you're doing this with hot peppers, you would probably want to wear some sort of protective gloves. And it does splash a little bit.
Même pour se faire des omelettes en plein hiver, hein?
Yep. Any kind of like this size of pepper, the way it's chopped up as such too, is that it is good for whatever your cooking needs are, like for ingredients. Again, even for an omelet, for you have potatoes. You know, if you put peppers in your hash browns, what's the other thing too? Is there was some resistance. Tacos or burritos or anything of the sort, the same thing. You know, like it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, that we still do put some in the freezer. It's just we prefer to have it canned, you know.
We put more the bell pepper in the freezer, so when we want to do some stuffed peppers.
Yeah, like stuffed. Yes, exactly. All right. So that's it. We wound up with, I don't even know. I can't see. I don't have my glasses on here. I think we have more than enough jars to accommodate everybody. It's deceiving when you're doing these guys too like this, because you can have a big giant bushel full, like a bushel box or a bag or what have you, but and it takes up a lot of room. But then when you go and chop them all up, well, you wind up with an awful lot less. So just so you know. And actually, I think the final count is going to be
it's more fun, you know. They are not freeze, you know, for the supper.
Yeah, yeah. Don't have to just open the can and away you go.
Yeah.
You can optionally put salt, you know, like a teaspoon of salt, or as much salt as you want in your jars as you're canning them. So, but we don't. It's not necessary. Again, it is completely optional. Okay, so we're gonna get going on the next step. We're gonna make a quick cleanup here, and that'll be that. Okay. Okay, so I did just huck all of our chopped up peppers into the big pot. The water was boiling really handsomely. It was hot enough that it's still boiling. So we're going to let these guys get doing their thing for 2-3 minutes. And then we're going to strain them all out and get them cold as fast as we can. All right. Okay, so the time has passed that these things should be in here. They are indeed blanched. So now we strain them out. We do our best with one of these strainers into another bowl, as you can see. And we're going to spray these down in just a minute or two. In the meantime, also, I've got my pressure canner warming up, because it's not going to be awfully long before the next step is ready. And so this is all there is to it. I'm going to fill up my colander here, and I just put a bowl underneath so it doesn't leak everywhere, because I'm getting as much of the water out first as I can over here. But after I fill up my colander, I'm just going to spray it down with the hose, or I can bring it inside and run it under the tap, which will probably be a smarter thing to do. All right, and that's it. That's how easy it is. This is the process. Okay. Anyways, so we'll get there when it comes time for filling. Okay. All right. So everybody's strained. I have another colander in the sink on the other side, still dripping and cooled. The pressure canner is started warming up, and now it's just as simple as filling up these jars with the peppers. And it's, again, we're leaving, I believe it's that half-inch headspace, inch. These guys, they need 1-inch headspace, and then 35 minutes into the pressure canner. Okay. So, and the 1-inch, you'll see sometimes there's some things that you can get away with, you know, once the jar has stuff in it, pack it down. No, just put what fits. Don't pack these guys down. Okay. And this is what's to be expected of us, and I just did it. It's just force of habit. So we're gonna leave that one because I know it was all set. Okay, it looks a little lower, but we're not going to do that again anymore. It's just force of habit. All right, and on it goes. Just a little more in there. That's it. One. I know I'm not going to fill up. I'm not going to have enough to fill up all of these jars. I know that. But It's still better always to have a little extra out just in case. You know, if they're available and ready, why not? Get them excited, build up their anticipation. You know, that's a little more. Let's go there. If you do this with purple peppers, your purple peppers will completely lose their purple color, and they will just turn a very bland, or your typical green. Okay, so you know, don't even these red guys like this, you can see their their faces change too. They've gone from that bright, stunning red to something that's more along the lines of orange. All right, so I'm going to get the next colander, and we're going to get it over here as quick as possible so it doesn't drip everywhere. And then we just keep doing the same thing, fill it up. They're cold enough now, you know, like I don't know why I'm using the thing there, but it's cold enough now that I could use my bare hands just as such, and it's probably going to be an awful lot faster. You know, actually they're not cold enough, they're cold. You know, I did bring them into the sink or into the house and run the cold water over them, and it works just fine. We don't really do ice in this house, so and that's why we just do with what you got. It may take an extra second or 5, but that's the way it is. I think we might wind up with 12 jars, maybe 13. And you just keep filling up the jars. It's too much. All of the seeds and the muck and the leftover and that filament from inside, and it all goes out to, well, if you have chickens, give it to the chickens. The chickens don't mind it. Some chickens like eating peppers, some don't. Our ladies, they're not sure. There's some that, again, some that do and some that don't. And my hands are clean, by the way. I do wash them whenever, particularly when I'm preparing food like this. I'm constantly, forever washing and rubbing them. I wasn't too far off. I said we'll make it 12. We will. I'm not going to make a half pint. These are the pint-sized jars, so I'm not going to bother trying to fill up anything extra or have a half jar. That's just silly. Okay. And as you can possibly hear or see beside me, I have my other pot of water heating up. That's for the liquid for the peppers. And again, this doesn't need to be an exact measure. It just comes over. I can do that. I can take a few out of here and just adjust accordingly. Just try to spread it out and make it as even as possible for everybody. That. And I'm going to get these guys out of here. And we'll get a thing like that. We've got our measuring cup again. All we've got to do is keep it that 1 inch from the top, which is just above the neck of the bottle, and just below that the little rim ring. Okay, so we fill all these guys up to the best of our ability like that, and we're gonna go in and pokey jab them with a pokey jabber to get the little air bubbles out. See, all that big gang of peppers from the very beginning, you wouldn't think that they would have all fit into 12 little jars, but they do, and they're going to be good for a very long time. Again, we didn't really opt for putting the salt in, like we can salt it later. It's more of a direct ingredient to use for cooking otherwise. That might be a bit on the too much side, but that's okay. And the nice thing too about blanching stuff is that usually it doesn't expand when it's in the going through the canning process. And that's the problem with a lot of things, is like if you don't follow that headspace and you put it in your canner, you'll wind up sometimes it's like the stuff it's trying to get out because it's cooking and it's expanded. And but usually when you blanch stuff, it doesn't. All right, so now we're going to get our pokey jabber. Let's just put this like that. Put that there. I can see there's already, let me just stir it around a little bit. Stir it around. Just make sure you get all that, or all, as much as humanly possible, the air to get out, little air pockets. And I can feel that they're all pretty, they say again to pack the jars loosely, and they're very consistent in the way they feel when I stir them around like that. There's and you can see the air that came out, the water dropped probably a 1/4 inch. So we just top it off, make sure we get to the proper level. Everybody gets the same treatment. We're all about equality. And there's still one or two that might need a little bit of adjusting, but we can just make sure. That sucks when you put all this work into doing something and then they wind up pooping out on you in the canner. So next, again, we know that it's only peppers and water, but we're still using a vinegary little soap piece of paper towel. Rub the rims just in case there's a little piece of pepper or something stuck to the top of the rim that might prevent it from sealing properly. Because again, too, that's horrible when you've only got one jar out of an entire batch of something that didn't quite work out, and just means you have to fire up the canner again for one jar. And it's kind of, I think, a waste of energy. Your time, your energy, when it's 35 minutes for one jar. Okay. And again, with the pressure canning, you see here, even though I cleaned it, there's a little lump of pepper that was stuck there that guy would have given me trouble. Even though I started my pressure canner outside, which I told you guys already, I still do this preliminary check each and every time. And it's just to take my lid pick it up. Make sure I can peek through it through where where you'd put your weighted gauge to see if you can see light coming through it. If you're not somewhere where you can't see light coming through it, blow through it so you can have clear passage. You know, so it's not jammed up and causing an accident. And it's the same thing for the rubber gasket. Like we've got one of those Prestos, the rubber gasket. Just give it the once over to make sure it's not all dried and cracked out. And the same thing goes for the other little safety black button, the blowout button. And just look at it, make sure it's not all cracked and dried out. You can get replacements for all of those bits and pieces. The gasket that's more for, again, these pressure canners that require a gasket, but there's some that don't, like the big American, the American ones. You're basically screwing down the hatch on a submarine there to keep it down. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna get these guys into the pressure canner, and I will be back when they come out just to show you what they look like. Okay. Okay, so this thing has been venting for 10 minutes. You can't really see it, but you can hear it, and I've noticed it before. The little vent safety latch doo-doo popped up too. So now it's time to put the weight here at our elevation. It's the 10 pounds on, and that's it. Now we wait. We're gonna wait until it starts going ticky, 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 tick, doing a little dance. We don't want it dancing too strongly, so we keep an eye on it and we adjust the temperature just so it just does a little dance. It just has to move, basically, a little bit more than move. And then it's 35 minutes, okay? It's that easy. Don't have to be afraid of it. It will not explode. But I'm saying that being outside next to a brick wall. Anyways, and I'm going to keep my eye on it now until it gets to its proper temperature, adjust the temperature accordingly, gently, and then it's 35 minutes. The temperature has to settle down all by itself. It has to depressurize completely all by itself. This little safety valve thing should usually fall, because even if you see the gauge here on top reading 0, it doesn't mean that it's completely depressurized. You can go sometimes when it reaches there and, oh, okay, it's ready, and it still gives a blast of steam. Wait until you see this thing down, okay? And what this thing does is it prevents you, it's a safety mechanism, it prevents you from opening the pressure canner before it's completely depressurized. All right, so we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, so these guys are finished. I waited the time that had to be waited for and got them out, put them on the table here. They're still bubbling nicely. They're red peppers in a jar. It was just that easy. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and like and subscribe if you wish, please. Thank you.